Hi, everybody. My name is Colin McLeod. I am a transfer admissions counselor here at UC Santa Barbara, and I work specifically with students in pretty much anywhere that isn't LA down here in Southern California, so specifically with Irvine Valley College students as well. Today, we're just going to be talking a bit about UCSB, some of our some stuff about our campus, our admissions policies, all that great stuff. This presentation shouldn't take more than about 35 to 40 minutes. So if you do have any questions, feel free to ask, but we will have a lot of time at the end to get those questions answered as well. So again, thank you all for being here. Let's go ahead and get started. So this is just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. Like I mentioned, we'll begin with getting to know UCSB a bit about our different colleges, as well as our campus life, student life, all that fun stuff. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty, how to get to UCSB, specifically through admissions, right? We'll be talking about eligibility and selection. We'll then talk about major preparation and what that is and what you can expect over the next couple of years as you're preparing to transfer to our campus. We'll then talk about other admissions policies like the transfer admission guarantee and wrap up with transfer resources, as well as again, that Q&A that we can have here at the end of our presentation. So let's go ahead and get into it. So let's start with getting to know UC Santa Barbara. So UCSB, we are about an hour and a half north from LA on a good day. From Irvine Valley, Orange County, probably a good 2.5 to 3.5 hour drive, depending on, of course, traffic conditions. But if you want to avoid the freeway, you don't want to sit in all of that traffic, we are also easily accessible by train as well. It's actually one of the more common ways that students from Southern California get up to Santa Barbara. It's known as the Amtrak Pacific Surfliner. So there are a couple of stops in Orange County. The one that immediately comes to mind is the one up in Anaheim. So if you need to get directly to campus, it does that for you. It'll take you straight to about a mile away from our main campus. Yes, we have our own Amtrak station not too far. So if you want to take that route to get there, it's an easy bus ride from the Amtrak train station to UCSB. Yes, UCSB students do get access as part of their student experience here at UCSB to the Metropolitan Transit District, also known as the MTD, which is our bus system here in Santa Barbara that takes you throughout Santa Barbara County, but most importantly, around Isla Vista, which is our neighboring community, which is where you will likely be living, out to Goleta, which is the main community that our campus is in. It's the suburban area of Santa Barbara, to even Santa Barbara proper, which would be the downtown or uptown areas of Santa Barbara. So you have great access to not only the area around our community, but also a little bit further out without having to even bring your car to the main campus. Now, for those of you who may live a little bit farther, or hey, maybe you just prefer to fly, we also have the Santa Barbara Airport right behind our campus with easy bus access as well. So if you don't want to sit in those hours of traffic, just know you do have the option to get here to our beachside campus, which now brings me to my next point about UCSB. We are at the northernmost part of Southern California at the start of what's called the Central Coast, which is, in my opinion, some of the most stunning beachside views in California. And UCSB is no exception, as we are the only UC within the UC system to have our own beach, where yes, you can walk directly from lecture, you can go from that midterm or that final to go sit out on the cliffs, you can meditate, you can go for a swim, you can go for a sail. Yes, we offer swimming and sailing classes, even surfing classes if you would like, or if that's just something you want to do in your free time, you have that available to you here on our campus as well. So that's just a bit about like our location, as well as our beachside campus. I think another great element of our campus in terms of accessibility is the fact that being in Santa Barbara, it's a little bit further north, so you have a lot more access to major hubs such as San Francisco, San Jose, even Sacramento, right? Still a little bit of a distance, but not quite as much of a distance as you would have having to drive from Orange County. Believe it or not, between Santa Barbara and even San Francisco, the traffic is nowhere near as intense as it would be to get from Orange County to Santa Barbara. So again, take the train, but also if you want to explore other parts of our state here, you have that option. You're much closer to other parts of the state that you may not have considered traveling to in the past. So it's a bit about accessibility, the beach, our location. Now let's talk a bit about the academic end of UC Santa Barbara. So we are a part of the UC system, the University of California, which means that we are a part of a larger research institution. So UCSB in itself is a research university. So that means you're not going to find a lot of majors that are necessarily focused in a specific career. Think things like teaching or law, or not necessarily law, medical school. We also don't have a nursing program. But with that said, all of our majors here are developed in order to give you the basis of understanding for any of those career fields. And along with that comes great access to people who are writing your textbooks. Believe it or not, these are your professors. They're the ones who are doing cutting edge research in our world that are impacting the world around us every single day. So you have the opportunity to be in this beautiful location with great access to some of the top minds in the specific field that you may be studying in. Our main majors here at UCSB, main majors in that these tend to be our most popular majors for students who are applying. Think economics, economics and accounting, communication, sociology, to more STEM-based programs like biological sciences, microbiology, biochemistry, biopsychology, even marine science here at UCSB, and any of the engineering majors, including computer science, which we'll get into here in just a few minutes. So UCSB in general, that is what we are known for, is that very general sense of general theory, research, what you're going to be receiving in the classroom. And given that you can see here with our numbers, we have 23,000 undergraduate students. What's an undergrad, by the way? That's just a student who is just like you, going for their bachelor's degree, where a student who's going for their graduate degree, they're going for their master's degree or higher. Now you see this difference, 23,000 versus 3,000. What that really means is that the majority of our resources here at UCSB are here specifically for students just like you, whether that's in any of our 500 student organizations, our counseling and psychological services center, our career services, looking into any of our 5 cultural resource centers on campus. The broad sense here at UCSB is that sense of community, taking care of each other to ensure that, of course, you are going to have an excellent academic experience here, but we also acknowledge that you are a person too at the end of the day. So we want to make sure that you are not only taken care of in terms of access to research, academics, but also in terms of your identity and just taking care of yourself through this process. So a lot of those resources, again, are primarily for the undergrad students. That doesn't necessarily mean that our grad students are at a disadvantage, but that's primarily who we are here to serve at UCSB. So that's a bit about our campus, location, some of our organizations, all that fun stuff that we have here on campus. Let's talk about admissions now. So this is just a bit of a brief window into what the transfer process is going to look like from your community college to UCSB. So first things first, we only admit students for the junior level or higher. Now, if you've been at a community college like Irvine Valley or any of the 116 California community colleges across our state, that's great. If you have been there for more than a couple of years, no need to worry if you have only been to a California community college. The reason I bring this up is students in this situation tend to think more times than not that they are considered at senior standing or higher. That's not the case at all. If you've only been to a community college and you have more than 60 or more UC transferable semester units, you will only be a junior level transfer. Now, we don't admit at any level below that, as we are primarily here to get students from the community college directly to our campus with a certain set number of requirements in mind, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit. Now, the next thing to keep in mind is that all of your requirements must be met by the end of the spring before you transfer. The reason for that is that, remember, these are requirements. The reason for that is that we are expecting you to have, we only accept students who are applying for the fall term. UCSB does not do winter or spring admission. There are other campuses within the UC system that do that. If you're interested in that admission term, or term for that admission, you're welcome to apply to those campuses. But here for UCSB, it's again primarily the fall. So make sure all requirements are met by the end of the spring before you transfer. For example, if you're interested in fall of 2024, you want to be sure you have all of our academic requirements met by the end of spring 2024. This entire process is going to be self-reported. So we don't ask for any types of like interviews. We don't do official documents. You don't need to send us anything through this process. This is all going to be reported according to what you put on the application. For that reason, it's a good idea for you to just have a copy of your unofficial transcripts with you as you're filling out the application, being mindful that after an offer of admission is made, so after we tell you, yes, we want you to come into our campus, and then you say, yes, I do want to come to UCSB, that we will ask you for those official documents. So eventually we will compare your application to your transcripts. It's just not during the application process. And then finally, if you are considering applying for transfer to really any of the UCs, but UCSB in particular, we do not admit students as undeclared. You must select a major from at least one of the 3 colleges that we offer here at UCSB, which are as follows. So the first college that we have here, UCSB, by the way, we have 3 colleges, first of which is the College of Letters and Science. This is our largest and most popular college, made up of about 18,000 students, 80 majors, 40 minors. It's very interdisciplinary, so you're not necessarily just focusing on one area of study. Of course, your major is your major, so that's going to be the majority of what you're going to be learning or studying during your time here. But you're also going to find other opportunities to explore other classes and other majors. You can pick up a minor. It's kind of your standard college experience, which is why it tends to be our larger and more popular college here at UCSB. Now, you may have heard 18,000 students, 80 majors, 40 minors, and think, wow, that's massive. That's a lot, right? It's a lot of students, a lot of majors and minors to consider. Take it from me, I myself was a transfer student at UCSB. I transferred back in 2015 as a communication major, graduated in 2017. I've been here working as a counselor ever since. And I remember when I would sit in on these types of presentations and I would hear the counselor say something like 18,000 students, my mind would immediately go to all of my friends who went directly from high school to their university telling me, oh my gosh, Colin, it's so hard to get the classes that I need. I can't graduate on time. I'm going to be stuck in this major forever, so on and so forth. Later on, and of course that was scary to me, as I was a first generation college student, the first in my family to go to college. So I didn't really have much of an idea of what university would look like, really just came from my friends. But it wasn't until after I graduated, after I went through that process and I became a counselor, that I realized the biggest benefit of transferring is that you essentially get to, in most cases, go directly into your major coursework. So the odds are that you are taking general education classes at the community college. Those are the classes where you hear 500 students in a classroom. It's hard to get access to your professors. It's hard to get everything that you need within the time that you need. The reason that those classes are like that is because those are classes everybody has to take. So odds are, as a transfer student, you probably took those courses at a community college with smaller classroom sizes, meaning you won't have to worry about taking them after you transfer to a larger university. This is the case really for any college or university that you plan on applying to, but I bring it up in this context because in the College of Letters and Science, despite its large number of students, you will find that you have an average 19-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So they may be roughly around the same size as your community college classes now, if not a little bit smaller. And that's specific to the College of Letters and Science. Now, the next college that we offer is the College of Engineering. This is the smallest engineering program within the UC system, made up of about 1,500 students. There are 5 majors within this program. They include computer science, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, and electrical engineering. So you've got quite a variety of majors there, again, including computer science. It is a very small major, or a very small college, rather, the smallest within the UC system for engineering. So with that said, it is quite competitive. You have a lot of extra requirements to consider when it comes to your major preparation, and we'll have a bit more detail on that here in the next couple of slides. But a thing to note is this small size does come with very large benefits. Of course, much smaller classroom sizes, a 10-to-1 average student to faculty ratio. You get more opportunities to connect with your professors, connect with the other people in your colleagues in your classroom, so other students as well. And the idea behind this college is that you are working on real world problems, creating real world solutions. So you'll notice that through different things such as your senior capstone project, where through your time or at the end of your time in the College of Engineering, you'll be required to develop a project in order to get through the program and graduate with your degree. So that's the College of Engineering. The last college that we offer is the College of Creative Studies. Now, think of this as the smallest major or smallest college at UCSB. So engineering, smallest in the UC system, College of Creative Studies, smallest at UCSB. This college has about 800 students, and don't let the word creative fool you. This is an interdisciplinary research intensive program in which there are 9 majors, all of which you will be required to submit a supplemental application with if you are applying to any of those majors, which can include computing. It can include also includes biochemistry, biological sciences, art, marine science. So yes, there are arts programs within the College of Creative Studies, but there are also some STEM-based programs as well for you to consider. The idea behind the College of Creative Studies is that you are creating new knowledge. So this is where you'll be doing a 2 to 3 year research project with a professor in your program who has extensive experience in order to complete your project. I typically recommend this for students who know that this is the only thing that they want to major in. They don't care about taking any other classes. They have a very specific route in mind, whether that's in terms of going off into research, wanting to even get published after they graduate, going off to graduate school, whatever the case may be. That tends to be the type of student that I recommend for this type of program, as there are lots of opportunities following said program. Now, I've talked a bit about research. Again, we are a research institution here at UCSB, but we understand that, lots of students go to college for lots of different reasons, and sometimes they come here because they are really career minded, but then they go to a UC and they find that, wow, this is very much in, my education is very steeped in, general research and theory. So they don't always necessarily get the practical end of things within the classroom itself. We usually encourage you to seek out internship opportunities, which are very available here in Santa Barbara, but also through any of our pre-professional programs here on our campus. These are our pre-professional programs where we are bridging the gap between a very career-minded student and a very general theory and research-driven education. So the first two that we're going to talk about here, it's known as our health professions advising and our law advising programs. This is where you get an advisor who helps point you in the direction of jobs, internships, as well as the types of classes you should be taking to make you competitive for that next step, whether it's going off to dentistry school, optometry school, if you just want to go study medicine, or even going off into law school. That is what these two programs are here for you to do. Now, this third pre-professional program is known as our technology management program, where you can see entrepreneurship right here. So this is for students who are interested in pursuing business. Usually that means the student wants to major in something like business administration. We don't necessarily have that major here at UCSB. So what we recommend for you all to do if you're interested in business is major in something like communication, economics and accounting, and even statistics and data science, if that's something you're interested in. On top of that, you could also do our technology management program where you're going to be taking classes in things like marketing, entrepreneurship, all those business heavy type topics, so that when you graduate, not only would you receive your degree in any of the 4 fields that I just listed, but you would also get a certificate in technology management that gives that degree that business edge. So the way that I like to put it for TMP, the technology management program, is when you graduate, you are going to, if you're going for business administration, you're going to be going into a field, whether it's the workforce or off to graduate school, where a lot of people are going to be having those types of degrees. So if you can find any kind of way to make yourself stand out, I think having that very general research-driven type degree paired with that very specific business-oriented certificate is really going to help you do just that. All right, so now we're done talking about Santa Barbara, about our offerings. Of course, there's a whole lot more to our campus. I would highly encourage you to also look into our website, see what we have available in terms of our over 500 programs here on campus, those student organizations. But let's go ahead and now get into how to get to UCSB. So this is known as transfer eligibility and selection. These are the two things that each UC campus that you apply to is going to be looking for when considering your application. So the first thing that we're going to be looking for, this is known as UC Junior Transfer Eligibility. What I want you to when you think of this, I want you to think of this as what's going to get my foot in the door. These are the sets of requirements that are just going to let you apply in the first place. This includes our 7-course pattern, which is made up of 2 courses in English composition, also known as UCE, one course in mathematics above intermediate algebra, also known as UCM, and 4 courses from at least 2 of the following areas that you see here below. You have the arts and humanities, also known as UCH, the behavioral and social sciences, also known as UCB, and the biological and physical sciences, also known as UCS. Having all 7 of these courses paired with a minimum 2.4 GPA for in-state residents, 2.8 for out-of-state residents, and 60 or more UC transferable semester units by the end of the spring before you transfer, again, means that you are eligible to submit an application to our campus in the fall. That's usually between October 1st and November 30th. Now be mindful that this is not going to get you admitted alone. This is where we get into junior transfer selection. So this is the second part of how we're going to look at your application. And this can be made up of 9 different factors. You have academic criteria or factors such as the UC GPA, completion of your general education, aka IGETC, required major preparation that can differ from campus to campus, as well as early completion of English and mathematics requirements. There can also be considerations for non-academic parts of your application that we'll look at. So that can include things like jobs, internships, clubs and organizations that you've been involved in, or maybe you have to help at home, take care of a sibling, or maybe you have parents who are sick that that aren't able to support the family, so you really have to step in, or maybe you're involved in a lot of sports, so you don't have all the time in the world to dedicate to your academics. Whatever the case may be, put it on your application. It is definitely going to help you out at whatever campus you end up applying to, because but this all will end up balancing out for you all. So if one part, the academics, maybe isn't super strong, but your extracurriculars are, vice versa, that will all balance itself out. As there are some campuses such as Berkeley, LA, Irvine, I believe San Diego, I could be wrong about that, that will be considering both those factors. Here at UCSB, though, we are primarily focusing on your academic preparation. So that's units, completion of the 7-course pattern, your GPA, as well as, in some cases, required major preparation. Now, if you have exam credits like AP or IB scores, please be mindful that you can use those to help you gain units, course credit for major preparation, in some cases, the 7-course pattern. We will accept all exam scores of 3 or higher for the AP exam for credit, as well as IB scores on the higher level exam, as long as the score is 5, 6, or 7. So please make sure that if you have taken these classes and done the exam with a passing score, to include it on your application, because again, it can help you get units and help you in terms of admission to any of the UC campuses that you apply to. Then we have your general education. So this is your intersegmental general education transfer curriculum, also known as the IGETC. This is a set of courses that your community colleges put together that as long as you fulfill all of those courses, by the time you're ready to transfer, in most cases, you can get certified. You send that off to whatever UC or CSU that you end up applying to and going to, and that will waive all of your general education requirements for graduation from said campus. So be mindful that the IGETC really is there just to help you. This is not required for admissions purposes. However, our admissions requirements, that 7-course pattern, happen to be built into it. So for most majors, we typically recommend it, but again, it's not a requirement. Be mindful though, if you don't complete it prior to transfer, you will have to complete the general education pattern at UCSB. So we typically recommend it for most majors, except for those who are going into engineering. If you're planning on applying to an engineering major at UC Santa Barbara, we definitely recommend that you focus more on your major preparation versus completion of IGETC. So speaking of major preparation, let's talk about it. So the first type of major preparation that you have to consider is required major prep. Now, if your major has required major preparation classes, that means that those classes will make a difference in terms of whether or not you're admitted. That is why they are called selective majors. So be mindful, not every single major at UCSB is going to have required major prep, but there are some, such as economics, economics and accounting, any of our engineering majors, most, if not all of our bio-based majors, will have those classes that, again, will impact whether or not you are admitted. And there will be a pre-major GPA that may be associated with that. So that's where you have, for example, in economics, we require macroeconomics, microeconomics, and 2 semesters of calculus with a pre-major GPA of 2.75 or higher. All that that means is across those pre-major classes, that student needs to have at least a 2.75 or higher. The overall GPA is going to be different than what your pre-major GPA is going to be. In general, just make sure that you have a plan when it comes to your selective major. That is what I am here for. That is what your transfer center is here for. Please feel free to reach out with any questions that you may have, especially if you have major preparation that is required. Now here we have a list of all of our selective majors across all of our colleges. In the College of Letters and Science, we have our bio-based majors, our econ majors, mathematics, physics, performance-based majors, which we'll talk about here in the next slide, as well as beginning in fall of 2025, chemistry. In the College of Engineering, like I mentioned, all of those majors have required major preparation. I strongly recommend that you complete all of it if possible. Again, reach out to me if you need help. And then finally, we have the College of Creative Studies, where those majors are actually not selective. They're non-selective, meaning the major prep itself is not required. But what makes these majors special compared to other majors at UCSB is that there is a supplemental application required. So for most UC campuses, we do not require you to submit anything other than the UC application. But for UCSB in the College of Creative Studies, we will. And usually what that supplemental application will look like is demonstrated interest, letters of recommendation. It can include a portfolio. You'll get all that information after you submit your application to any of these majors in the College of Creative Studies. Now, this is just a quick note on our performance-based majors. So performance-based means that it's a major in which you are doing performing, right? So think the Bachelor's of Arts in Dance, the BFA in Dance, the Bachelor's of Music, the BFA in Theater, Bachelor's of Fine Arts. These majors all have an audition element to them. So the classes are not required for these majors. It's a good idea to take them though, but they won't impact ultimately whether or not you're admitted. What will impact your offer of admission in this case would be your UC application, such as units, or what you've put on your UC application, such as units, GPA, 7-course pattern, but then also how you do in the audition. So if you do well academically, but you don't nail the audition for the Bachelor's of Arts in Dance, then unfortunately you will not be considered for admission to that particular major. So be mindful, just as you're applying for any of these, that yes, there will be an audition element to them, except for the majors in music studies, that's the Bachelor's of Arts, or the Bachelor's of Arts in Theater. Now, all other majors in the College of Letters and Science are considered non-selective, meaning that the major preparation is not required. This is where they are recommended. So if you did not see your major listed in the last couple of slides, congratulations. That means that your major preparation, while it is important for graduation purposes, will in no way impact your offer of admission. And all that means is, if let's say you change your mind at the last minute and decide to do a major that you haven't super prepared for, great, you can still apply for it and be considered for it. Just be mindful that you may end up spending more time at UCSB, ultimately meaning more tuition money because those classes, they're recommended for a reason. You're eventually going to have to take them anyway, and those can be prerequisites for other classes that you're going to need in order to graduate. So the idea with those non-selective majors is, where do I want to spend more time doing my major preparation? Would I rather do it at the community college where it's a bit more affordable and flexible, or would I rather do it at the UC where it's a little less flexible and not quite as affordable as my community college? So for that reason, these classes are recommended. We want to save you time and ultimately money. Now, if you're curious about whether or not your classes are required or recommended, feel free to take a look at our website at our major preparation sheet. This breaks down, again, everything that's required versus recommended, along with the pre-major GPA that you're going to need. If you are curious what these classes look like, because we don't give you specifics here, what they look like at your community college, feel free to visit assist.org. Now, UCSB is also a campus that offers the transfer admission guarantee. We are one of 6 campuses across the UC system. That's all of us except for UC Berkeley, UCLA, and UC San Diego that offer that transfer admission guarantee. This is where, yes, you can get guaranteed admission. Do not believe that Reddit post that you saw about someone's uncle's dogs, sisters, brothers, whatever. You get the idea, that are complaining about applying for tag and not getting admitted. Those concerns are valid, but be mindful that you can only get denied after applying for tag if you are missing required major preparation or if you're missing any of our minimum requirements. There is not a single student who has applied for tag, qualified for it, who has then been denied. So yes, it is 100% chance guarantee as long as you are fulfilling the criteria at the campus that you are applying to for tag. And that can differ from campus to campus based off of GPA, coursework, details, and deadlines. Just be mindful that you can only select one UC campus to apply to through the tag. So if you want to do all 9 campuses, please be our guest, but only one of those campuses can receive a transfer admission guarantee. So if you're kind of shopping around and you're looking at different campuses, just be mindful of those differences, that some campuses might have different deadlines than others that can make it a bit more difficult to eventually choose. So if you have a few campuses that you're interested in tagging to, do your research. Once September comes around, which is when the deadline for the tag is each year, you'll have the opportunity to then make your selection based off of whichever one you are most prepared for. But there are lots of reasons that students choose to tag, which we'll talk about here in just a second. Now, tag is available at UCSB exclusively in the College of Letters and Science. That's for all of our majors except for those that are performance-based. Remember, you have that audition element to our performance-based majors, meaning that it would be kind of awkward if we guaranteed admission to something that a student maybe didn't do very well in the audition on, or whatever the case may be. So that's the reason that we're not able to provide that tag to these particular majors. And then, of course, the College of Engineering and the College of Creative Studies do not offer tag either. Now, in order to qualify for tag, you have a few things to consider. First things first, tag is not a binding contract. It is an agreement that you are signing that says that if you fulfill these particular requirements, in exchange, whatever UC or UCSB that you apply to will give you guaranteed admission and exchange. This is not going to necessarily impact, you negatively. This can only be a good thing, as even if you don't make the tag, maybe you applied for it and you missed a requirement for whatever reason for the tag. Maybe you don't have your English requirement on time. Maybe you missed the GPA. We will still consider you for regular admission. So tag does not mean end all be all. You will still be considered for regular admission, even if you don't end up qualifying. And if you do, great, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to come here. Like I said, there are lots of reasons that students choose to tag. Some students, like myself, when I was applying, I tagged to UCSB because UCSB was my dream school, while others may choose it to be a bit more practical, where they may have a wide net of UCs that they're applying to, and they want to have one that they know they'll for sure get into. That way, if they don't get into their quote-unquote dream school, they have at least that quote-unquote backup to have. So lots of different reasons, whatever the reason may be for you, we will not require you to come here if you're admitted through TAG. We'd love to have you, but we also understand that college is a very subjective experience. You want to go where you feel like you're going to have the best fit. So don't feel obligated to go to a campus just because you got that guaranteed admission. Just some things to consider to keep your options open through this process. And then finally, the tag is also a free application. It's the only free application that you're going to receive in the UC system. So take advantage of it while you can. Again, it's not an end all be all type of application. It's really just there to ultimately help you. So in order to qualify, you must first have at least 30 UC transferable semester units by the end of the summer before you apply. By the end of the fall that you apply, this is for fall of 2024, you must have at least your first UCE and UCM requirement completed with a 3.4 GPA or higher. And then by the end of the spring, before you transfer, completing all the rest of our requirements, including units, your major preparation if it's required, and anything else that you may have to complete of our 7-course pattern. And that's essentially it. So that's the tag, very straightforward. Again, 100% chance guarantee if you're meeting with the requirements. Now let's talk about our transfer resources. So the reason that UCSB and the UC system in general are able to offer the types of programs like TAG that we do is the fact that we do prioritize California community college students in this process. This is per the Master Plan for Higher Education here in California, where we have agreements with each of the 116 California community colleges across California that tells us and tells you exactly what of your classes are going to be transferable, what your transferable GPA is going to look like. It makes this process as smooth as possible. And part of that includes resources such as assist.org, where you can see what classes from your major are going to be applying to whatever major classes you need at any UC or CSU. It tells you what your transferable classes are. It tells you just amazing information that you're going to need to, again, make this as smooth of a process as possible. We also offer transfer admission guarantees, and each community college has its own designated UC admissions counselor, as well as CSU counselor, who work for each one of the different campuses. So I'm your representative for UCSB, but I also know who your UC Berkeley representative is, or your UC Merced representative is. Whatever the case may be, we are here exclusively to work with you and your transfer center to ensure that you are having as smooth of a process of transferring as possible, whether that's through email advising, phone calls, virtual appointments, in-person appointments, the college fairs, you name it, we are here to help. Now, for students with coursework from other colleges and universities, don't worry, I know it can be a bit stressful. You often hear through Reddit, through social media, that the UCs don't prioritize students with coursework from outside of the community colleges for transfer. That's not necessarily the case. We just don't have the same exact agreements with other universities and colleges as we do with the community colleges. So with that said, it's not the most transparent of processes transferring from a non-California community college to a UC. So what a lot of students do is they first go to a community college, they'll take classes, so they have mixed records essentially. If this applies to you, know that unfortunately we are not able to tell you what will or won't transfer at this moment. What we do recommend you do though, because that's not the most ideal answer to hear, what we want you to check out is our guide to course transferability. This is an online tool that's designed specifically for California community college students to get, or non-California community college students, to get a general idea of what may or may not transfer from their coursework if they have coursework from a non-California community college. So we welcome all students. It's just this is not the most transparent of processes to take if you have coursework from another college or university outside of the CCCs. Now, a great resource to consider for community college students, that's regardless of the type of coursework that you have, is our UC Transfer Admission Planner. This is an online tool designed specifically for community college students to plan and track their progress towards transfer. It tells you what classes are transferable, what your transferable GPA is, how many units you have. It ultimately leaves out the guesswork in applying to a UC campus for transfer. I mentioned myself, I was a community college student who was transferring. I had no idea that this resource existed, and if I did, it would have made my life 1,000 times easier. It was very easy to find me in class taking notes, but I'm actually plotting out how many units I have to take next semester. This type of thing will help with that. So you don't have to worry about doing that in your classes. Focus on your lectures. Don't worry so much about the transfer process. This really will be kind of your center of being ensured that you are making the best decisions in terms of your coursework and all of that great stuff. Another benefit of that, or of this planner, is that if you have any questions of me or again any of the admissions counselors within the UC system, we can easily look up your account on our end, and it acts as an unofficial transcript in the virtual setting. It tells us what's transferable, it tells us what your GPA looks like as well. So as someone who is an expert in admissions here at UCSB, I can tell you exactly how competitive you are to our campus and where there might be some areas for growth or where there may be areas for you to keep doing how you're doing, right? Set one up today if you don't already have one. It's a super helpful resource. And then finally, we have our application timeline. So the application for fall of 2024 has been open since August, with the tag application open from September 1st through the 30th for 2024 that has already passed. The UC application is available to submit now. So it is open until the end of November. So that's roughly about a month. Actually, it is a month away now. So if you haven't already done so, please try to get your application open at least and worked on. That way you're not waiting until November 30th to submit it. You have equal chances of getting admitted if you submit on November 30th versus submitting on October 1st. There's really no difference. We don't take that into consideration in terms of when you apply, but be mindful that if you do wait until November 30th, that at 5 o'clock on that date, we're going to be closed, all of our offices. So if you have any questions, if you run into any issues, unfortunately, I won't be available to help you at that point. So give yourself the time, give yourself the grace, the wonderful gift of time by getting your application in sooner. That way you don't have to worry about potentially running into questions at the last minute that may or may not get answered. You give yourself more time to get those questions answered. Anywho. Then it'll be by January 31st, you'll do the transfer academic update. That's known as the TAU, an update on your fall grades and your spring schedule. And we will be posting decisions for UCSB in mid to late April of next year. You'll need to let us know whether or not you plan on coming here via the statement of intent to register by June 1st. Now, this is just a brief overview of what 2023 looked like. So we had over 17,000 applicants with a 60% admit rate. Now, I've seen this number go up and down, so it's not the same every single year. When you're making decisions on where to apply, do not let these numbers guide you. This really is here just to, again, give you a general idea of what it looked like for the last year. Next year could look completely different, right? And that includes with the GPA. We had an average GPA of 3.7, but that's not necessarily the GPA that we're looking for fall of 2024. If you're applying to any of the majors in the College of Letters and Science, we're looking at a 3.4 GPA or higher, and then in the College of Engineering, 3.7 or higher, which again, I think speaks to how competitive that program is. And then for the College of Creative Studies, that will vary from major to major. The big thing to note here is that over 95% of our students who are transferring are coming from the California community colleges, again, emphasizing that very smooth transition, that dedication that we have to students, and making this process as smooth as possible to ensure that you are on the route towards getting your bachelor's degree from one of our campuses, well, here at UCSB specifically. And that is going to be it. So if you want to learn more about UCSB from the student perspective, please feel free to follow us on Instagram at UCSB Life for updates on campus policies, admissions policies, events, and whether or not we'll be visiting your campus sometime soon. Feel free to follow us on all social media platforms at UCSB Admissions.